Hi, everybody. I guess we're started. I'm Debra Prinzing, and I'm going to moderate this wonderful session called The Regional Flower Economy, Flower Farming as a Viable and Profitable Facet of Agriculture. And I'm so happy that Stone Barn Center has asked us to come together and talk about flowers instead of food, although of course we know flowers are edible. And so I'm the founder and creative director of the Slow Flower Society. It's a collective of sustainably minded growers, farmer florists, and floral designers with more than 800 members across North America. I especially want to thank Shannon Algier, Stone Barn Center's resident flower growing expert, farm liaison manager, and co-director of the Arts and Ecology Lab, for inviting me to gather together and moderate this panel. Clearly, I am not a young farmer. I'm not even young, but through my passion for slow flowers and our members, I hope to shine a light on some floral pioneers that you'll meet today. As we move through the presentations, I know that 45 minutes is going to pass really quickly. So we want to address 3 key questions in a round robin format. And I'll try to keep an eye on the clock so everyone has at least like 4 minutes to answer their questions. And we are going to ask attendees to type, if you want to type your questions in the chat, you can, and we'll try to answer as many as we can in the last 10 minutes. These are the questions. I'm just going to set the stage. Each panelist will share an overview of their floral expertise, who they are, what do they produce and grow, where are they located, and how long have they been farming. That kind of gives you a snapshot of the individual panelists and their farms. Next, we'll talk about how flowers are part of their business model and how they sell and what markets they serve. And then finally, we're going to answer the question, why flowers? Why grow flowers instead of food or in addition to food as your operation? And all 5 of today's panelists are also leading deep dive sessions, which I think are filled, but I think will also be recorded for future viewing. So let's get started and just meet the 5 panelists. I'll introduce them, and then we're going to just jump right into the first question. So Taij and VC Cotten are coming from North Carolina. Can you wave? And they're with Periwinkle Farm. And after responding to a Craigslist ad for Valentine's Day in 2017 at Preston Flower Shop, Taij and Victoria were hooked on flowers. They quit their jobs and traveled North Carolina's Piedmont farming region, talking with any farmer who had time or space to talk with them. They quickly realized they wanted to farm. Now farming alongside their mentors and farmily, Michael Perry and Kathy Jones of Periwinkle Farm, the couple helps sustainably farm 4 acres in northern Chatham County, specializing in seasonal vegetables, specialty cut flowers, and pasture laying hens. And I think Michael and Kathy are in the audience here, so we'll give them a shout out, and thanks for mentoring younger farmers. So Taij and Victoria reside in Chatham County, North Carolina, with their 2 adorable flower-loving children, Carly, who's 6, and Titus, who's 1, and you'll see a few photos of them. I first met Taij and VC at the 2018 Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers annual conference in Raleigh. Destiny made sure we were seated together at the same banquet table, and I just fell in love with them, and I've been following their adventures on social media. I'm super delighted to welcome them today. Next up, we have Julius Tillery, founder and CEO of Black Cotton US. I'm so jazzed that he's here. And actually, Taij introduced us and said, you need to get Julius involved in slow flowers. He is the North Carolina State Coordinator for the Black Family Land Trust. He is a 5th generation, lifelong row crop commodities producer of cotton, soybeans, and peanuts from northeastern North Carolina. Julius has worked in leadership capacities and for many organizations, including the Rural Advancement Foundation International and the Conservation Fund. He currently serves as Southern SARE. I'm sorry, Julius, I don't know what that means. Administrative Council.
Yep.
SARE, okay. And the North Carolina Forestry Advisory Council. Julius is a rural economic development advocate and also known for his entrepreneurial focus as his role founding Black Cotton US. You can find him anywhere between his farm working on producing crops or on another farm helping consult with new enterprise development. Julius is a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with a degree in economics and a minor in entrepreneurship, and he is a new dad. Welcome, Julius. Our Next panelist is Aishah Lurry, founder and CEO of Patagonia Flower Farms based in Patagonia, Arizona. She's got the sunflowers behind her, reminding us all that, it's sunny in Arizona. Aishah is an artistic florist who combines her love for water-wise and organic farming techniques to produce affordable, healthy, and fresh-cut flowers. As a gardener who began her flower farming career in 2017, Aishah started her micro farm on her home's property after getting tired of driving 20 miles out of town to buy overpriced and imported flowers that she didn't like. By merging her expertise and knowledge of crop planting, propagation, harvesting, drying, and arranging, Aishah was able to turn her beloved hobby into a thriving business. Okay, so hi everybody, I'm Debra Prinzing, and I am going to be asking questions of our panelists, and they're going to kind of tell their story. So we're going to start with Taij Cotten and VC Victoria Edwards Cotten. I call her Victoria and VC. I don't know why, I just like them both. Of Periwinkle Farm in Pittsboro, North Carolina. So would you guys just introduce your floral enterprise, tell about what you're growing and your story, how long you've been farming, and all the above. And I'll just click through the slides to introduce you. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us. We are so ecstatic to be a part of this. So we started farming 3 years ago. We just kind of quit our jobs and decided, we wanted something else. We didn't really know what that was, but we wanted something else. Like Debra said, we did do a whole lot of traveling, just trying to find people who would talk to us, who would spend time with us, anyone who could just give us that next little glimmer of hope or shine or whatnot. We've been working for Periwinkle Farm for the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years. We farm like a ½ acre of regular potatoes, sweet potatoes, kales, collards, peppers. We do a little bit of everything, flowers, and then we do chickens for eggs. So.
Yeah, and we also sell at 3 different markets. We sell at Carborough Market on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and then the Farrington Village Market on Tuesdays. And that's pretty much our flower markets is direct to customer at farmers market. So we do some bucket sales for weddings and events. And this year we dabbled in direct to a florist. So, I mean, that was mostly on our push.
Yeah, so our farm, we farm for Mike and Kathy of Periwinkle Farm. They also are a married couple. So that's really interesting. When we started this off, we were just looking, like every time we went to a farm, we tried to find a little piece of that farm that we wanted to carry over, like what we had imagined in our own farm. So to be with them, was amazing. We farm alongside of them, and we've kind of gotten to the point now where it's interchangeable. I mean, we don't live on the farm, but we feel just as invested into the farm. I mean, if we lost the whole crop, we would all be equally as sad. I mean, this is our home. They've made it a really nice place for us. We can grow. We've kind of, we push these kind of seeds, and we're trying to grow more flowers. The Lizzies that are in front of our son, this is our second year doing those, and we grow those outside. Miss Kathy, just had never tried them, wasn't really into them, and we kind of came along and pushed it. That's one of our more high-end flowers, so we kind of pushed them a little bit, and they are, the people behind the scenes who are like, well, we tried that and that didn't work, or they're that brain, it's like we all come together and we're like one super brain. So
it's great.
We're kind of like the kids who came back and was like, hey, this is what we can do to the farm.
Like, let's do the social media thing. Let's add this flower. Like, let's try this. So, we're very, very happy being there. That's pretty
great.
much it, I guess.
I love these photos that you put together, just showing family life on the farm. This one was your little boy was very young here when you were farming with a baby in your front pack, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've done a little bit of everything. For us to have only been farming for 3 years, it has completely been on warp speed. It doesn't feel like 3 years. It feels like maybe 33 years. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but in only the greatest way possible.
Ah,
So
that's
yeah, I
awesome.
mean, like, right now, you know, with COVID, our kid does virtual learning, and so they're out on the farm. Like that's the farm that we have with Periwinkle. It's like our kids are more than welcome to come there. We're homeschooling. We're working around their schedule, our own schedule, and with kids on a farm, it takes a lot longer to do anything anyway. So I mean, our kids call them farm on, farm pa. This is
Oh,
like
that's
our second.
awesome.
So yeah, it's been good.
That's neat. Okay, I think we're going to jump to Julius Tillery. Julius, are you on? I don't see you in the.
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Great. Well, here you go. Tell us about your story.
Well, Julius Tillery, founder of Black Cotton. I'm a lifelong cotton farmer with my father and grandfather. My grandfather passed away in 2017, but as someone who's raised cotton all my life, I didn't see many opportunities in it, and I had to find beauty in the cotton to be able to make and create opportunities. And that's pretty much what we do at Black Cotton, is we take cotton that we raise in our family farming enterprise, and we turn it into beautiful decorations and accessories, and we try to ship them all across the country.
Wow. Did you farm growing up, or did you see it as like a really big drag and you couldn't wait to get away from the farm?
It was like a chore, you know, just like cutting grass, you know, washing dishes, doing this, doing that, farming, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So something brought you back though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I worked with my dad, and my grandfather was getting older. He died at 93 in 2017. So, you know, I seen him was getting older, and my dad, it was a lot on my dad's, load, and I didn't understand how, how we was going to continue to do it with the profit margins being what it is, and I thought there's hope in the crop, and I just had to look around and see opportunity, because I knew I was going to do it every year. I just had to change the direction of how we was doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's so great. Well, we'll get into more about your market in the next question. I love your branding. It's fabulous. Let's switch to Aishah Lurry, our Arizona girl, and welcome you, and give us a little introduction and snapshot of Patagonia Flower Farm, Aishah, while I move through the slides.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So I have a micro farm. I'm growing on 4,000 square feet. I'm in Southern Arizona. We're actually in what's called the Sky Islands. We're in a mountain region. We're about 4,000 square feet above sea level. I've been farming for about 5 years, 4 years to market. And when we first moved here to Patagonia, my husband and I, that's Sebastian, worked for a retreat center. We both did. He grew all their vegetables year round, and I worked in their sprout house and grew microgreens and wheatgrass. And once I stopped working there, I was like, okay, I want to grow something, but I don't want to grow vegetables. I don't want to grow microgreens. I want to grow flowers. And that's how it all started.
So you're growing mostly everything in the field crops. So you have no covered structures really, do you?
No, we don't have any high tunnels. So everything's out in the field. Sebastian was in building and construction. So he's done all of our infrastructure, and he's building a cold frame for me. So that's the closest thing to a greenhouse that I'll have, but eventually, hopefully we will. But right now, with the temperature here, we're able to do it outside, everything outside.
I wanted you to talk about the tulips. That's why I added this slide. This is like one of your hottest crops. Like people aren't used to tulips in Arizona, are they?
Not really, because it doesn't get cold enough. So I figured out a way to do the tulips inside my cooler hydroponically. So these are all done hydroponically and can be put in a vase with the bulb just like that, or potted up in soil. Yeah, so that was something I discovered last year, really trying to figure out how to bridge the circle between seasons to keep, something to be able to bring income in every month without skipping a month. And this was one of the ways that I did it.
Wow, that's great. Okay, Aishah, thanks. I'm going to jump to Julius Freitas, the flower hat. Everyone who follows him on social media knows he often wears this beautiful Well, you have a lot of flower hats, Julia, don't you?
I have a lot of flower hats. I'm not wearing one today though. I do have hair.
Here's your website. Why don't you give us an introduction?
Yep, that's my website. My name is Julius. I have been a floral designer for 10 years, and in the last 6, I've been growing a lot of my own flowers as well. We started growing on 4 raised beds. There was a super small operation, just like 4 by 10 beds. And every year I just kept feeling like I needed more and more flowers because I needed more and more variety. Yeah, that's my very first garden right there with the zinnias. So eventually, I'm in Bozeman, Montana, which is not conducive to agriculture because real estate here is so expensive. So we plan on building our house one day. So we found this plot of land that was actually just right behind our studio. And it's just under an acre. And I've been growing flowers there for 2 years now. So next year will be our 3rd season. And just like Aishah, I don't have any structures. I don't have any coverings. It's not fun or exciting or easy to do it in Montana, but we do it. And just because the climate here is so harsh, like instead of trying to find ways to make some crops work for me, I just worked with crops that would do well in this climate. Because I always say, like, I'm a florist first and then farming comes second. So anything that I can do to make farming a little bit easier for me, I'll do it. But we grow a lot of perennials. We grow delphiniums, tulips, daffodils, yarrows, and a lot of cool loving flowers, I guess, like ranunculus and anemones do really well here. And we're also known for our dahlias that you're seeing there. We grow about 6,000 of them, and we have a big dahlia tuber sale in the winter. And we just again, because the climate is so hard, our season is so short, and we don't have that much space, I just try to focus on really good colors for weddings and flowers that are what we call like cut and come agains. So I don't have to keep planting every few weeks or so.
That's
fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop the screen now and kind of introduce to everybody. And let's just talk next about how flowers are part of your business model. Some of you have touched on what you sell and what markets you've served, but let's elaborate on that a little bit. Taij in BC, I was super interested in your comment about pushing, Kathy and Michael, who are veteran farmers, to kind of try new things that maybe are reaching a different demographic, maybe a younger customer. I mean, what component of flowers make up all your activities? Because I know you have other, vegetables and chickens on your plate as well. How do you prioritize and make sure you're touching flowers every day?
Well, we try to have something floral year round. I mean, right now we don't have any flowers in the ground, but we dry flowers, and we've been trying to step our game up with the wreaths. They're very popular. Very time intense to create, but I mean, you kind of just gotta give people what they want. I mean, it's just part of the game. We also, for our market, since COVID, we had to switch things up. We used to do a thing where we kind of have a flower bar, and people would come to our stands and they make their own bouquets or buy by the stem or buy by
The
handful or whatever. And we had to change that up a little bit. So it was kind of like assembly line of flowers every Friday or every Tuesday and Wednesday. We gathered a certain amount of flowers each day. And during the weekday, it was about 20 to 30. Saturdays, it was about 100 bouquets for a Saturday, between just bouquets, mixed bunches, straight bunches, and then single stems like Dutch irises and gladiola.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny because we're at this point now where, we just we get on Instagram and we see what everyone else is posting, and every time we're like, oh, we should try this, and we go back and we tell Miss Kathy, she's like, oh, well, I tried that, and blah, like, she's just like, oh, okay, yeah, it was nothing special, but it's something now that we're interested in, and so she's like, we'll revisit it. So it's been really, really good. You can't really ask for a better partnership like that. They're, when she's making seed orders, it's like, okay, what colors do we need? You know,
Should we even be growing
should
this
we
this
be
year?
growing this? Is this something we like people want anymore? So we've just kind of come in and we help kind of fine tune that. I think we do everything really well. Like I wouldn't say we're necessarily just flower florist or vegetables or just do eggs. We kind of try to be really good in all of those things.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, I mean, honestly, flowers are harder to farm than I would think vegetables. Like flowers, you do kind of have to always be touching them. Dutch irises, we might pick those like 2 or 3 times a day, just depending on the weather, just so we can have that perfect harvest. That is one of the few flowers that we do sell to Weaver Street, which is like a co-op owned grocery store. So flowers we pretty much touch all the time. Vegetables, we're doing probably just as much, but we only have to touch those like to weed them, to plant them, to harvest them. So it's kind of, you know, we're touching the flowers way more. And then chickens, Mr. Mike kind of holds on to that. That's like his main project. Whenever he does need help, we step in. But for the most part, we try to be really good at all of those things.
Wow.
So
I wanted to, you talked about wanting to sell to florists and that you guys kind of pushed that. Can you talk a little bit about how you developed that business? It seems like you're both very design oriented and want that value added, you know, facet to the business. Did you reach out to florists or did they reach out to you?
Well, that's how we started. So like I said, our
Craigslist.
Craigslist ad, that was a real thing. Like it was the week of Mother's Day and it was Valentine's Day, and it was like epiphany. Like I needed to be invested in flowers. I needed to spend most of my time with flowers.
Let's try something different. Like
Yes.
let's just do something that we wouldn't normally do, because we were just at that really weird point where we didn't know what we wanted to do.
So it's just kind of like full circle, just
Be able
we made it to the farm, and just to be able to sell back to the florist is kind of where we want to go.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't with the florist that we started with, but it was a relationship that we had built with another person who was doing
flowers for the exact
arrangements,
same
but
reason.
now she works for another a florist in a separate part of town. So it's, like I said, it's full circle. Like she said, everything for us has kind of been like the stars align. I can't say that's happened for everybody. I mean, it's definitely been some struggles, but it's working out for us.
Yeah, I mean, florist is a whole different ball game. Like this year, we just kind of like realized that we like the hands-on. We're like the market people, you know. We like to come and we like to be really involved and have that connection. I feel like if we went forth with florists, it would probably just be to these like 2 special kind of, like definitely Preston, because that's who we started with. They kind of gave us the background and the go, but you know, we wouldn't try to sell that many. It's a very different ball game for florists than it is to just, oh, let's range them ourselves and take them to market. So.
Okay, let's jump over to Julius, and just to cut you off, sorry guys, we're going to move forward. Julius, we're talking about flowers, and obviously you're growing a fiber, and I'm wondering how you started redefining cotton as a kind of a decorative floral type of ingredient. I mean, everything you sell is value added. Can you describe how that came to be?
Well, it initially started with someone asking for a box of cotton to use as decoration in Indiana. It was a farmer from Indiana. And I sent that first box, and then I started putting cotton, stems of cotton, like in a cotton mason jars. And people be like, oh, that's so beautiful. And I realized people was looking at it how people will treat like roses. So I said, black cotton is the new rose because it lasts forever and it's just as stylish. And from, starting that ideal of putting it as rose, I started to create, vase arrangements, looks. And even when you're talking about roses, I start getting to the wreath game. I got my heart wreath right here.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh. That's beautiful. So you're selling, are you selling most? Are you selling mostly online, or I know you do a farmer's market too, right?
Well, I've done some farmers markets. I do mostly online sales now because of COVID. It's pretty much took over this year for me in regards to being out at markets. And I like being out at markets. It's efficient because you don't have to pay shipping costs. But at the same time, with the internet, you have unlimited opportunities. So I would suggest to people who's into flower game, market wide, because flowers can ship.
Your flowers also are basically not perishable because cotton, you're not having to FedEx. You can do, or overnight, you can do ground and that sort of thing, I'm guessing.
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. One of the things that I really like about your product is that you're showing the whole part of the cotton with the pod and the stem, and like that is educating so many people about what this product looks like when it's grown. I mean, most people aren't familiar with it.
Well, I've learned from other agriculture industries that you should use the whole plant, and I felt like in the industry we wasn't using the whole plant. We leave a lot, after the combines come through. So I was just thinking creatively what we could do with it, and people just like connecting to the touch of something real grown in their country. They could make a connection with. Connect to how people feel about it. It's giving a feeling. Same thing with flowers. So I've been pursuing.
That's great. So how would you describe your markets? It's mainly retail, or are you also selling wholesale to other makers?
It's varied, it's diversified, but mostly I like doing retail. But I I do individual deals on all deals. Please reach out to me if you want some cotton.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, let's jump over to Julio and talk about, you've talked a little bit about being a florist. And so I'm assuming flowers are 100% part of your business model, but in terms of growing, how does that look in terms of your facets? I know you've just got a lot of entrepreneurship going on with your non-flower products, such as tubers and bulbs. So can you tell us how you slice up that pie, Julius?
Yeah, so we, and even before COVID, we're lucky that we book weddings about like 6 months to a year before the actual wedding date, so we can plan the farm around the weddings that we are going to be having the following summer. So we pretty much sell to ourselves. I mean, 1 acre is not that much flowers to grow, especially considering it's not much space to grow on, especially considering that half of that is dahlias, and then the other half is annuals, biennials, perennials. So it's a pretty tight production. But what I really noticed when I started, my style has changed a lot because of growing my own flowers. I remember when I started, I used to do these really tight arrangements that you'd probably see in a window shop in New York City, which was great and sold really well. But like eventually when I started growing my own flowers, I started noticing how the plant grew, just like you were talking to Julius, like how every part of the plant could be used. So sometimes we'll use foliage that you wouldn't necessarily use because it's not a cut flower, but because I grow it, I know that it was cut fresh, I can use it in my arrangements. And once I started doing that, I realized that a lot of the weddings that I was getting they were giving me inspiration photos from designers like Sarah Winward and Siren Floral and Ariella Shazar and Max Gill, and they all use local flowers. They all support the local flower movement. And it all kind of came together. Like I said, my design style really evolved from growing my own flowers, and I now like more whimsical and garden-esque style, if you will. And it's kind of paid off because I can grow whatever I want and use it in my wedding, even if it's something that like what we try to do is grow anything that doesn't ship well and is actually really hard to find. So like I spent countless amounts of hours researching seed companies and what seeds I can find to grow in this climate.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one more question, then we're going to go to Aishah because I realized I skipped my order. When we talk about what markets you serve, I feel like you have the wedding market, and then you have the who's buying like your tubers, and is that like the home gardener, or is that other flower farmers?
So I really try to focus all of the color palette that we grow into more like a wedding color palette. So a lot of whites, a lot of burgundies, pastels, peaches, corals. So there are a lot of farmers that will buy the tubers, at least like to start, because a lot of the wholesalers will require you to buy sometimes 50, sometimes 100 out of one variety. And a lot of the professional farmers want to try out to see if that variety will work. So a lot of those people are actually professional farmers buying from me. But there is also a lot of home gardeners that will buy, like they really want the big dahlias that we would use probably like in an urn at the beginning of the aisle. That also serves that market that just really want the big showy flowers on their front garden so their neighbors can talk about it. So, and then there's everybody else in between, and there's a lot of florists that are also growing their own flowers too. And they have a very small backyard and they can't get dahlias because dahlias are really hard to ship. And they just buy some of the tubers to grow themselves.
Cool.
Yeah.
Aishah, can you talk about how flowers, I know flowers are 100% part of your business model, but how your model is broken up? What are the pieces of your pie in your marketplace?
Well, I would say about 90% of my business is subscription. So I have a spring, summer, winter subscription program. I have clients here in Patagonia and also in Tucson now. And then I just got my flower delivery van this year. So I have flowers at a health food store here in Patagonia as well as in Tucson. So that's most of my business.
And is it year round?
Yeah, well, it is starting to be. This year, I think it is going to be. So I have my winter subscription is like amaryllis. So my summer and spring subscription is once a week. They'll receive a flower arrangement once a week and they get to choose what size they'd like. And then in the winter time, it goes once a month. So like this month, they'll get an amaryllis, potted amaryllis, and then they'll get different bulbs throughout as I'm forcing bulbs.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ranunculus and anemones will come in the springtime. And this was the first year I started making wreaths and drying flowers and things like that. So yeah, I think it's all going to be I'll have something for people to buy every month of the year.
That's so exciting. It's great. And I love that you are open to trying new things and introducing new products to a kind of a remote marketplace that hasn't had access to local flowers very much.
Where we live, you have to drive at least 20 to 30 miles to a large chain supermarket to get flowers. And then when you get those flowers, who knows where they come from, and the colors are kind of crazy and unnatural. So I think people are really excited about having something local to support and buy. Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect segue, Aishah, to our kind of a wrap-up question, which is sort of self-evident. Why flowers? You can tell we're all sold on the idea that flowers are a really important option for small-scale agriculture. But let's go around and talk to all of our panelists about, what is your kind of heart telling you about this as a sort of a passion, but also a good business decision, growing flowers instead of food or growing flowers alongside food? Taij and VC, can you take that question first?
Like you said, outside of just having a passion for flowers, I mean, for our farm, it's crop diversity. I mean, flowers definitely are more equitable. I mean, we do about 50-50, but it's about 60-40 in terms of how much money we make on the farm. So, and also we have chickens, so we bring our chickens onto the pasture, like in the field where we grow our vegetables and things, and they'll graze there. And then after that, you can't put vegetables back where the chickens have pasture. So there's never an empty spot. So we just immediately put flowers. So for us, it just kind of balances out our farm.
Yeah, it brings pollinators, which help our vegetables. And then it attracts customers to our stand at market. I mean, you see all these flowers, it just has the pop and the color. So it's more attractive for us in our farm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, farmers market is kind of like a theater production. You have your setup, you have all these beautiful colors, and then the bell rings and the customers come in and it's like camera action, and you want to sell. The presentation is the seller.
Yeah.
Man, you're just getting like this full 360-degree education in how to have your own farm someday, if that is one of your goals. Can you just talk about that briefly?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was the goal, but I mean, as you've heard, I mean, we've kind of created a home at Periwinkle Farm. I mean, that's a farm that's already established, and it's a 30-year-old farm.
We're 30
both 30
years.
years old.
I mean, we just can't get the soil. I mean, it would just take forever. There's lots of benefits, but we can't ever build the soil that fast. And I mean, we're just really happy there. I mean, we have that same luxury as if it was our own farm. So we have no reason to leave. We don't see ourselves leaving anything.
That's a wonderful sentiment. And yes, you are as old as the farm. That is really scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool. I mean, literally, and that's, you know, we also have that mentorship. So these things that we want to try, it's like, oh, wait, that doesn't grow here, or, ooh, no, you know, it's just, we already have that instant feedback. So we don't have to waste time necessarily. We can just move forward and figure out the next best trap.
Oh, I love it. That's wonderful. Okay, let's see. Julius, Mr. Black Cotton, you're back.
Yes.
Do you have a family history of also growing food, right? I mean, how have you taken the cotton and spun it off as a separate business? Because I know in your bio you mentioned that you also had soybeans and peanuts in your family farming legacy. What is your priority now? Is it cotton?
Cotton is my priority. That's for black cotton. But alongside cotton, we raise soybeans and green leafy vegetables, especially in particular the fall, winter, with my father. And you know, so we have a diverse approach to family farm. But I separated black cotton for specifically, you know, for the specific brand in the communities I'm trying to reach nationwide.
Mm-hmm. And do you have people say to you, you're a lightweight, you're not growing food, that, you know, cotton isn't important? Or like, how do you win that argument?
Well, I always get caught up in, like, you're not doing what I'm doing, then how you judge me for doing it? Like, if you're not growing 50 acres of cotton, if you're not, you know, if you didn't harvest 1,000 pounds of greens this year, don't talk to me about healthy foods. They don't meet the criteria, start doing it out. And then, you know, if you're doing something I'm doing, then I'll listen to you.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're really building a brand that you have so much potential in redefining what cotton is for agriculture and also for black farming. And that's what I really caught my attention and caught my passion when I saw how you were just owning it and, you know, claiming and designing a narrative that was, you know, your truth. And so I applaud you for that. And I want to see where you go with this next.
Zoom is not being friendly to me, but I believe that, you know, with the right mentality and the right mindset, we all can go far. And especially, you know, in the people who work land, you know, we got to believe in ourselves. And for a long time to try to hide that I think this is the time where people know that we do farm and we're doing well to the earth.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Okay, we have 2 more people and we have enough time to ask them about why flowers. So Julius, you want to jump in? I think you've kind of addressed some of it, which is growing flowers are enhancing your design business entirely, right?
Oh, 100%. So the second part of what I was talking about, which answers this question, is once I started getting all these Pinterest photos with like these very hard to find flowers, and I started growing them myself, I noticed that the more I used those flowers, the more the budgets were going up and up. Like we do $50,000-$60,000 weddings now, and that's just like our normal, and that's what people want. I can do a $50,000 wedding with straw flower, the little zinnias, lisianthus, and dahlias, like because they're willing to pay for it to get that look. So there is definitely money to be made in flowers. And I think the biggest, I don't know if this is a misconception or not, but I've seen a lot of people treating flowers as just like a very much side business, but they don't dedicate a whole lot of time and effort into it. But like it can be profitable, but you have to be consistent and you have to be efficient with it. It's just like growing food, but you have to prioritize it too. Like you have to pick at the right time. I've seen so many people growing zinnias and you go to buy them. And this is like even from farmers that I used to buy from when I didn't grow my own. Like the centers are blown open. The flower maybe has a day or two left in it. Like, but if you cut it at the right time, like local flowers can last so long, so much longer than anything else you can get in your market. And it looks fresher, it looks so much more beautiful, but you have to take it seriously and you have to be consistent with your quality and you have to be efficient in your processes, because otherwise it will just take over your life and then you'll not be able to grow anything else.
I love it.
But there's definitely money to be made in local flowers for sure.
Wow. Thanks. Aishah, you've grown food in your past and you've worked in native plants and restoration, but your path has taken you to flowers, and it seems like you're very happy where you are. But other than the psychic benefit, what is your argument for growing flowers?
Well, I think that you know, flowers are an accent to everything, to every part of our life. You know, when we talk about cooking something in flowers, that to me is like a no-brainer. I think they uplift spirits. I think during this whole COVID thing, my business has boomed. Why? Because people need that. They need that color. And especially being here in the desert where everything is like kind of monotone this time of year, to be able to have something bright and beautiful is a need. So I just think that us as a collective should continue to grow flowers and stop importing them from other countries with all that, you know, that comes along with that. I just think that we need to take that back, and I think there's a high need of it. And I never get threatened when people in the area say, hey, I want to start a flower farm. I'm like, let's do it. You know, I do not get intimidated by that, because there's one thing saying it, but there's one thing doing it. You know what I mean? But I'll help them every way I can. But, you know, because it's a lot of work, like Julio said, but it's definitely a labor of love. I think we can all attest to that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, that the sense of community is so powerful in our group of, you know, people who care about local and seasonal and sustainable flowers and the source and origin of their flowers. And then also the design aesthetic that is pretty much dependent on that seasonal value. So I know that you're all just kind of showing a very short introduction to the agriculture world, adopting flowers. And I know you're all going to do a deep dive after this, and hopefully I'm going to put up the deep dive schedules so people can see what's happening next. And I think it's right here. I think all the sessions are full, but if you're ready, if you did sign up for one of the deep dive sessions, it's going to start immediately after this. And I know all of you are in for a treat to spend a deep dive time with Taij and VC, Aishah, Julio, and Julius, and maybe me. And I will see you in the deep dive session. But I just thank you all so much for joining us. Apologies for the technical difficulties, but you know, we can't be together for many reasons, and this is the next best thing. So I thank everyone for attending this, and we'll see you in the future. And I appreciate the inspiration that this entire panel has given. You guys just rock. I want a day with each of you, because there's so much to learn and so much to talk about. And our people are thanking you all in the chat too. So I'm delighted that we had such a good audience. And yeah, we'll see you in the deep dives. Take care.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.